Hello, and a big welcome to the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Great to see you. Lisa, legend. Aaron, Lady Kim, innit Kim? Yo, there's the Prez. Guitar outside, great to see you. Thanks for those membership gifts. Everyone now is bound to you. Soul bound to Guitar Outside if you got your membership recently. Or the other lovely, generous people who've been doing that. You summonized him. Who? Me, yes. What time does Tradespotting show up? Yes, I noticed that just as I was going live. So quick, just for anybody who's wondering, when is it that Tradespotting's live? It's every day from 3 to 5 p.m. EST, except currently when it's a little bit more sporadic timing due to what you can potentially see behind me. You know, like that's the kitchen cutlery thing and whatnot. I'm obviously not in the kitchen anymore. Some of it is. There's some grey lines, you know. It's all a question of, shades of black and white, right? So, hello. We're into the charts here. We're starting on TLT. This is not moved all that much today. At the 200 period moving average on the daily time frame. This is a very important proxy for trend. Daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, depending on how volatile your asset is.
Became a member.
Across different trends and different time frames, then you might be looking at a big bing bong, 7 months strong. Whoa, stonky. Great to see you, 7 months. Let's thank you. I'll get my breath back in a second. Millionairing. Yes, we're millionairing. I'm going to make 100 millionaires. That's my goal. I don't feel it to be that ambitious. Other people think I'm irrational. And then they say, Tradespotting, I'm not sure if that's a healthy ambition. And I say, get out of my face. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a fuzzy goal. I know it's ambitious.
Lady Kim became a member.
I don't need any of that well-meaning deflation. I don't need the critique. I understand it's difficult, but I know what it is. It's a measurable goal. We're going to do it. 100 millionaires. Later on, there's other goals. But this is to satisfy yourselves. I am already quite capable of making millionaires. And this is the thing that I want to point out at this juncture. Having £1 million, it's not impressive at all. It's really not impressive. In fact, it's kind of uncool as a starting point. No offense, right? Really, I mean that. And I might put this in just in case I miss anything. But being able to earn £1 million, that's amazing. If you've ever done that, that's really impressive. Typically, those two things would be highly correlated, but you'd be surprised. Right, so what was that? Yeah, so 100 of that, easy, really. It is. Later on, there's other things to measure, but we'll get there. And so I want 100 millionaires as like, you guys are the real barometer of the success, which I would judge towards my home goal, right? Which is you guys. Look at that. Rocky Outcrop, the king of crops. Great to see you, Rocky. Great to see Amanda. Amanda, massive thanks to Amanda. She's amazing. Amazing person. If it wasn't for her, who knows where we'd be right now. And Lisa and Sarah, amazing. And Red, amazing. Amazing. Those people are amazing. My mystical cloud tweet is funny and true. And funny again because it's true. Check out Rocky Outcrop's Twitter. It's really, really, really worthwhile if you like, humorous and intelligent commentary on all things finance. Rocky_Outcrop on Twitter. Is that correct? I think that's it. You'll recognize him by his big, handsome smile. Hey, how you doing? Driving and listening. Just saying hi. Cheers all. There is Mr. Lipton driving up the Spanish highways in his Bugatti. Quite loud then. You can hear us over the Bugatti. The Bugatti. Rocky Twitter on fire. Right, get in there, check it out, hit like, retweet things. He's shadow banned, so he needs your help, right? So if you're committed to doing good things, you could do one once a day by liking Rocky's tweets. Easy peasy. Easy breezy. Right, so what we're looking at, this is TLT. Didn't move much at the 200 period moving average. That's the point I'd like to make. Risk changes. You're also at your prior high. You break that, you'll be breaking potentially out of a range. And then the question is, are you trending in that direction? Right, that's all. The ipso facto, get it right up, Joe. Right, that's what that is. That's how we would look at this chart and consider continuation to evolve. would be via that path, wouldn't it? So that's pretty simple, you know. I'm quite happy with how concise that was. 4-hour time frame, you're into this trade. You know, you can move your stop into profit. You've got a number of technical artifacts that would be in or around levels of important support should you get there. Stop in profit, profit protection. This is how we build the millionaires, right? It's a science. What came up there? PLBY. Okay, 9.51, top of the memes today. This is not a retracement that's worthy of a fantastic celebration, though the percentage moves fantastic. Golden pocket, Neela. Had a little bit more to go, hadn't reached these important artifacts on the 4-hour time frame, never mind on the daily, 200 period moving average, 50 simple. Not all that crazy. PRTY, on the other hand, you know, it retraced but held a level of support, and other things open to the top side that we were looking at, pushed further up to the next level of resistance, a little bit of a gap below. So these are all things that will have their own volatility profiles, slightly different for each of them, and as such the different trades that we're all looking at right now again will have slightly different inflections and dynamics. Comparatively, here's XLV where we're looking at potential cover for the overall market breaking down. This is SPY select sector, looking at healthcare, probably screwed if it's not. Fantastic moves in biotech, even if it is potential individual standout trades. This particular trade, though, starting to put in a bullish engulfing formation in the 4-hour time frame. Also, that 50 simple has a horrible trajectory. I like it because it's now below my entry, which is what we likes. So if this continues to break down, Vanjab Bajosi, 128 is a very important level on it. And now that we're on the select sectors, careful. What have we talked about? This was new to come up on the Millionaire Splushers. I don't know if we've done it. Anyway, so there's a high here. Want to be careful. It's obviously a little bit divergent. Potentially, if SPY is breaking down, this would be a place to look to for other trades that might potentially evolve out of what you've got at the minute. Do I want to put that on right now? Save it for later on, potentially. Everybody's got their capital deployed, generally speaking. I hope you have your stops in profit. If you're looking for new trades, we've got a potential here. We'll have potential here, so we do. A little bit obvious, isn't it? This horizontal level of resistance, and then the retracement that perhaps the high ups is the most important to keep an eye on in the short term, being around these levels, and testing that would be speaking to not yet breaking the range. So if you fail here, potentially that's where you're looking to, you know. And as I say, this level of resistance so far proving to be quite sticky, and around these levels would be the extreme side, and you know, down around this gap area.
Rich Agrilo became a member.
Boom. Didn't become one. It was 14 months in a row. Look at all these familiar names. I wouldn't have thought that I would know so many future millionaires. Yes. It's nice, isn't it? Plus rising tide, rise together. People that will have the same outlook, the same perspective, the same sort of brands of wisdom. People you can always be friends with. And who you look back and think, I support them and they support me. You know? Really big deal. That side of what we're building here is really impressive. And the way people treat each other, great to see it. Always love you guys. Thanks for being so good to each other. Go to Luke's Beers. There you are, sir. Good to see you. There's rockets. There they are. Okay, Adele, recovering from getting 6th start of the year. Spot of unluckiness there, but getting there. It is a spot of unluckiness. Look, I just did an unlucky thing. This was, you know, Rocky's real brave, right? Like a lot of people around here, right? Looking at this thing, this is a resistance level. Why did my arrows go away? Why do you not abandon me arrowy things? Anyway, so, you know, look at this. It's pretty obvious, right? The risk is slightly here. It's slightly higher here than it is here. And if it does break this area, you'd be looking at that. If that breaks, you know, question is on the 382 breaks, you're looking at that important level of support. That's confluent with 50% retrace. And if prices break down, right, that would make sense too. So we'd be looking around those sort of potential things. You know, also we had a potential trade coming up on XLK. Here we go. Here we have it. This was the nothing to do with yawn. Get out my face lines. Like buses, aren't they? So this was nothing to do with the show there. Right, so this we got in around this area. Look, right, you got your potential there, right? Pretty good, right? Pretty good. Looking at this potential breakdown, there's 3 different areas it could go to, and if it was to break up, then you're getting a little bit better risk profile overall. But this is a very tight stop there, and people are looking at this trade potentially quite happy with how it's moved so far, down 1.29% today, having just got to the entry. That's all right. Again, another potential opportunity for some folks. And XLY, strong moves now. It's completed most of that first suggested trade. Where would we have that best explained? Here. Went through that, got all of our profit targets
Schwartz
on it.
became a member.
Stiffy bid. He's been a member for ages. 7 months. Schwartz, thank you for being here for us, buddy. Always, Schwartz, thank you for being here for me and each other. It's all... Don't worry about it. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. And then make sure you done it. Yeah, make sure you done it then. Do it already. Whoever gave subscription, thank you. Thank you. Right. Ace, you're bounded, soul bound to guitar outside, I think it is. So, this potential good trade's done well so far. Hold to 50 simple. You could get more out of it. It's consumer discretionary. This is important with regards to earnings coming up. Earnings aren't really coming up, but pre-earnings season is. Call it pre-earnings season. Here, that's my way. That's what I call it now, right? It's the pre-earnings season. It was way more important than the whole boring rates rises crapping out. Are we not all fed up with it? I think we are. I think we have been for months. And the truth is, it's not about your streaming metrics any longer. It's about who's making money, right? And who's costing money, and who's making money relative to inflation. That's the question. Previously, it was just like, oh my God, big scary numbers. Now, it's let's put those scary numbers alongside the earnings. Let's see who's made a real rate of return and who, due to discounted cash flows, is effectively eroding shareholder value. Let's see what's happening, yo. Let's see, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, stick around. You'll understand via osmosis over time, right? Your friends will be like, what are you like? You are so interesting now. You'll be like, so I was always being listening. You haven't been paying attention, but actually you were paying attention to Tradespotting. This is very good, right? You can become the people around you. That happens. Look at this chat box. Look at the amazing chat box. Right, what? Look at this. Look what it does to a penny. What's next, right? So holding, right? There's holding. The trend. Ooh. And that's not what I wanted to go to. I want to make other points today. So, yes, this is what we were talking about yesterday, and the 200 period moving average. Come on, guy, on the 4-hour time frame, and what that was likely to do to trades. So if you were looking to, take profit, re-enter, that would be that sort of an opportunity at these sort of inflection points, 200 period moving average, with a trade that's already, a train already in motion, right? It might be looking like it's changing direction, but we're speaking about trend, not like simple oscillations in price, for goodness sakes. Trying to make millionaires here. Yes! Which people find to be like, oh my God, how can you do that? And that's like, it's not crazy. It's why people do this. So when you get that question, or you see people in there and are like, ooh, I don't know if that's going to happen. They don't know what they're talking about. Why would they be trading otherwise? Right? But also, yeah, sure, it can just turn a profit. That's a good way to look at it. That's a good objective to have, to be able to turn a profit. Aim for the stars. The higher you aim, though, potentially, the further you go. And if being around people that are doing that can only help you. So, the gambler's mentality, that's what it is when people look at you and they say, like, I'm going to make a millionaire. They're like, well, out of who? And you give them a selection of people who like self-select, who themselves qualify because they're determined to do it. And then you give them the tools, right? That seems like quite a realistic objective to me. But obviously other people will look at us with scorn and think, that's not going to happen. Appreciate the consistent content, you freaking legend. XD, appreciate you and the consistent support. 11 months, but we both know it's longer. Thanks. So, yes. So, this is a gambler's mentality, right? Now, I'm speaking about people who are, outside the tent pissing in, right? But you're inside the tent pissing out.
XD became a member.
Yo, XD. As if it was. What you like? It's 11 months. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So, on the other hand, this guy, right? So those if you've got that mentality previously, that's okay. Like, I'm not here to criticize people. I'm trying to talk about how what we're going to achieve is measurable and realistic and will happen. And at that point, I'm not looking for the respect of the greater world. In order to do it and to do it authentically, we need to measure our success in a way that's effective, right? Which helps us progress. And so that's what I do. And building the Millionaires is one part of it. Later on, it gets bigger. Positive framing will help you, especially if you have, if you're a strong natural risk taker, or you have, say, a negative inner dialogue. A positive framing of your goals is a sensible suggestion, even if others might not necessarily see it that way because they judge situations and under other circumstances. They look at different contexts and they know you personally in your life and whatnot, and that's fine. But you want to have a positive inner dialogue, especially when you're attaching serious amounts of effort to a real goal and being authentic about it. So that's what it's all about. And so if you've got a gambler's mentality and you're inside this tent, which you are, right? Hello, this tent. Right, just joking there somewhere about 2 tents and that doctor in it. GREE re-entry is accumulation about holding very simple and daily 4 RE86 retracement from this move. Good point. Right, this was the previous trade. If you hold the 86 retracement from this move, that'd be it. Slightly below in this moment in time. Whereas this guy says a drop down from previous one. Looking for the 86 here. If that's what your take is. Big dip down to this previous area. Golden pocket retracement, 50% retracement is confluent with the previous golden pocket, and that would maintain the bullish inflection on this move. So if you're looking at the things previously with that perspective that I outlined, that's not a critique of you. And if you're inside the tent pissing in, congratulations, that's the biggest step. Next is to understand that, it's all about reducing risk. That's how you make these millionaires, by reducing the risk, not by, the opportunities are endless and they're everywhere and they're all the time and they're always and they're all right now and it's forever. So it's not about actually identifying opportunities, right? That is, again, part of the gambler's mindset. It's all about reducing risk. And also what can happen to the gambler is when they first arrive in this arena at this challenge, they find it to be, which is not unexpected, very difficult and very risky. And it can be that before such times as they've met the Doomslayers or the Outcropticians, they've joined the Discord, or Outcrop Discord, or they've taken the course at www.technicalanalysis.school, they end up building up a significant degree of costs in terms of losses. Now, that significance is often in the gambler's mindset. Again, misjudged their own progress, undervalued the lessons they may have learned, not appreciated, and the pain exaggerated and amplified because of their own emotional reactions. And what you want to be thinking is instead about your future with a positive frame. And that will be, a lot of that's determined by how you articulate your goals. So 100 millionaires, that's a good one. Hold at 50%, price action perform positively. Subsequently, you would say that the overall market's pulling to the top side. It is a very risky. So this is what we were talking about on SPY. There's a lovely box. Isn't it a lovely box? 4-hour time frame. Reach top side of that guy. Look, strobe to you. And so, gap fill. Potentially you're looking at this also trying again. You have moved up to significant support and resistance levels. Obviously $400, right? That's quite obviously a psychological level. So far you took a little bit of a knock off it. Clearly the support level has been important. We've opened and closed below it on a 4-hour time frame. We needed to do that to get back to this gap. Top side of it touched, not yet closed, right? So you could easily open below that tomorrow morning, trading 390, and that would be, create a lot of liquidity, create a liquidity event during the opening range, which could be exploited by the dominant flows at that part of the trading day. So you would anticipate that opportunity being triggered, right? So bear that in mind. Also, it would speak to the significance of that not happening and price action moving back up again. I would suggest then, if that was the case, especially during opening range, you could see price action testing back up at that 400 level. And if you've watched this show for a while, then you'll know what I expect to happen if you exceed 400. You've obviously got this horizontal level there. That would catch a lot of people out if you bounce back from there. And you'll be trying in around 408, 410. Which is the prior high, and that's what you would expect if you were looking at this to be rolling over price action. Bear in mind, macro level up to the daily time frame to at least get a better picture of that. Downward sloping resistance, diagonal line, hit it a number of times. Most recently, gave us this most recent trend gave us this inflection point, this 236 on a time-based fib. So we were able to judge this volatility entering the market. With respect to its overall previous history, you couldn't necessarily say that's to measuring it as a percentile of the previous 100 days. But if you're looking at it with regards to the previous several candles, then exactly what we were thinking would happen, and it came back to an important level as we would define using our Fibonacci retracement. You can see this was what we identified as an important level, and the inflection point comes when you test an extreme. So breaking this downward sloping diagonal on a daily time frame wouldn't be all that significant. And, you know, keep Friday in mind. Weekly time frame, 50 simples back at around those levels, 400. If it does fail, 200 on the weekly comes back towards your prior low in at around 356. Until such times as you've defeated certain objectives, you will be testing those on the other side of the trend. Weekly time frame, this is definitely a downward sloping trend. Another lower high would confirm that. You'd be looking for a potential lower low. So all the intermittent levels in between may provide a staccato drop, which would be best exploited by trading individual sectors, those that you see the most the highest volatility, and those that have therefore the lowest cost relative instruments to trade, depending on your approach to trading. 30% up is whatever. No. That's TA to learn from the greatest Tradespotting rocket group. Yes, it is. Very much. We can't blow our own horn constantly, though. Not that we've done it at all this episode. We've been just talking. This is the culture around here. Yo, I'm catching a live one. Yo, Nimlos. Wiggle, wiggle. From 7 cents to 9 cents with a proper TA is the road to success. You're telling me 7 cents to 9 cents. That's life-changing. You can do that percentage move persistently. Imagine, right? So this is another thing to learn, right? Now, culture around here. People say we're irrational. Yeah. People say we're unreasonable. Well, have you looked at the shopping links in the description below? I mean, right, understanding that, not all that crazy. We've faced this critique for a while, right? I don't work here, right? We don't kissing unreasonable land goodbye, right? Goodbye. This is reasonable land. Goodbye. We're in unreasonable land. You know, that's the way it works. Bing bong, the price is wrong. We understand, right? Right, we understand. So people say, that's not possible. You say, sure, no problem. No problem. Also, don't yourself get too caught up in those past mistakes. If you arrived here already having accumulated some sort of capital loss, or if it happened since you entered the markets, don't let that weigh too heavily on you, and certainly don't amplify it. Money comes and money goes. The ability to earn it is what matters. That's what we're dishing out here, right? Teach a man to fish, slap a man in the face with a fish. You want a fish? We've got lots of fish, right? Whatever you want, right? It's a big fish factory, fish business, fishermen, fish here, fish farm, whatever, right? Fish, all sorts of fish. Fish rolls, fish cakes. Yeah, still.shop, yo. So this is Unreasonable.shop. So, yeah. I mean, there's lots of interesting things there. It's also linked in the description below the video. There should be pictures and stuff. I mean, it's supposed to be like that. YouTube tells me these things, but I don't know. So, yes. So your losses, they can seem like a big deal, doesn't it? Sometimes you're like, oh my God, right? A lot of people are defined. Their characters are cut by these losses, and those scars persist. You can see it on them walking down the street. The zombie traders with the big loss, right? Above their head, like a health bar. You just, right? And you cross the street because it's infectious. No, I'm joking, right? So a lot of those, like, if you've got a gambler mentality, it's also like it costs a lot of self-harm when you've already made a few mistakes, and you don't necessarily see them as lessons. And I'll tell you a really true statistic that will help you not ameliorate those losses, because they will never disappear. That's something that's happened. You drop your keys in lava, they're gone. But instead, I'll tell you something that you can focus on: positive frame, right? If you can you, right? I'm asking you a question right now. Answer this question in your head out loud. Can you, or in the chat box, even better, if I gave you, no, well, I'm not giving you anything, right? Somebody, you earned, right, $1,000, right? You earned $1,000. Most people can earn that who would have access to this show. Like, if you got $1,000, do you think that watching Tradespotting every day, taking the course and learning along with people in the Discord, that you could turn that $1,000 into $2,000 in less than a year? Do you think you could do that? If you use stop losses, then you can limit the amount you're going to lose on that $1,000. And if you identify the right opportunities and you trade them at the right times in the right ways, then do you think you could turn that $1,000 into $2,000? And do you think you could do it in a year? A whole year to do it? Do you think that would be possible? Right? Some people saying they think you could do it every month. Do you think you could do it in a year? Right? Turn 1,000 into 2,000 in a year with as much help as I can possibly give everybody, which is not completely limitless. I am a human being. But there's a network, right? And those network connections provide exponential benefit. And I try to teach people to coach people to a really high level. So this filters through to everyone. And, everybody is equal access. So it's like to the lessons. So, to try to be arrogant. So so you could turn 1,000 into 2,000. If you said yes, right? If you said no, you couldn't, I can help you get to a position where you'll be more confident in that proposition. But if you said yes already, right? That's great, because a winning mentality is part of this. Right, so a year, right? Great. Could you do that 9 times in a row? Could you do that 9 times in a row? Because if you could, you'd be a millionaire. Off that $1,000, you'd be a millionaire. And do you think, right, just from a casual, at a glance, on the back of a napkin calculation, think that I could perhaps deliver the right opportunities that would facilitate that? Right, so that's just 9 times, right? It's just 9 times, right? So even if you got it completely wrong, even if you lost to your significant other, to your previous version of you, to some hundreds of years version, so to someone who doesn't understand inflation, to the idea you didn't realize, discounting costs, to you, to your Schopenhauer version. Look at you now in the future, looking back at you right now, thinking, those losses, they were so large, right? Were they so large that you couldn't earn $1,000? Were they so large that you couldn't have the self-confidence that you could do the right thing just 9 times in a row? Are they really that bad? I don't think they are. Can you do it? I know you can. So is it that ambitious? No, it's not. Are other people looking at us, judging us with scorn, real traders? No, they're not. Are they going to be surprised? Probably. Do we care? No. Are they the focus of what we're trying to do? No. And you have to be on the inside of the tent pissing out, right? That's a big part of this. Price action, right? Doesn't matter what you're trading, it's risk. This thing, if it doesn't manage to exceed that 50 simple, it's quite clear that 200 period moving average in this prior low would represent a very strong, it would represent a lot of gravitas. Okay? So that's what we're thinking. If you're looking for standout trading opportunities every single day, well, there is some things coming up. We did talk about XLB. Part of making millionaires is also instilling the wisdom and patience of sensible trading. So while we're ambitious and we're enthusiastic, we understand that we can't make price action do anything. So we wait for it to come to us. There is no help in rushing to be rich, but there's plenty of wealth in waiting to be right. Hit that like button, hit that share button. The greater exposure we get, the better it is for everybody. Can't stress that enough. And if you appreciate this opportunity that we've all got together, then look to the people in the community who are most involved, because they're the people that facilitate over and above the things that Rocky and I do. The chapters are insanely helpful. You're darn right they are. You're damn right they are. And they provide value long time from now. Thank you so much, Lisa. Right, so, you know, lots of other things. What else things in terms of things? You know the story of King Lear, right? Do you? Oh, do you know the story of King Lear? I do. Right, so here is a stock with a chart that looks incredible, because it is, right? It always has been, but it will. It's very perilous. It's doom laden, right? See, what happened was he got old, but he did not get wise, and he decided to split his kingdom among his most flattering of daughters, which of course, my horse, is a terrible decision. He split it up, and he didn't do it evenly, nor did he do it wisely, and instead suffered fools and flattery, which left to ultimate demise. Right now, he realized this at first instance when he went and visited his daughter's houses and they ignored him, right? Those that he had bestowed his future wealth to. And that's essentially what's happened here, right? That's essentially what's happened here. It's a Greek tragedy. No, it's a Shakespearean tragedy, pardon me, and it's going to play out in lifetime for us to watch the richest family be destroyed, destroy themselves, and for us to profit from that tragedy in an ethical and humorous fashion. It's going to happen. This ticker's going to do it. You're going to see it here first on Tradespotting. I can't wait, right? I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. You'll right. You think Gucci, right? This is going to be, right? There's going to be a whole new version of Gucci Gang. There'll be songs about it coming soon on Tradespotting. Denny do trust. Denny do trust. Louis Vuitton does make some good travel luggage. We'll all be stocking up that soon. Ethical and humorous, well, damn. And it's really, that's what we're going for. That's the niche, as they say in the States. Giving this whole trading thing a big shake. Don't necessarily expect, the metrics to represent that. We can't expect scorn and disbelief. It's only later, once we've achieved what seems impossible in the outset, that we can, be a path for others to follow. At that point, we expect things to get big. And it relies on you guys helping everybody helping each other that's here. And then, it always has been that way, that only people that are really going to come to these sort of shows are from word of mouth from other people, right? That's the only way it's really ever going to grow these things. If I get down to a cent, I will check that in 2 seconds. I see, yes, I see donations here. Oh my goodness, I've missed them. So, it's afterwards we expect the numbers to explode and whatnot. And in the meantime, it's your numbers that I'm going to hope to explode. And I have to focus on the realistic aspect of, the rest of the world. How many times do they need to tell me? You can't do it. Well, okay, let's see. I'm not going to wait till I'm bored of hearing that. Can you expand on that liquidity event from a gap in the bit any please, sir? 999. So expand as opposed to extrapolate the dynamics. Expand what I meant at that time. So SPY, isn't it? 30 minutes. here's a gap, right? Now, I don't care about 30-minute gaps all that much, but they do present an area on the chart, two areas, area where when price action is approaching it, it begins, and there where it would close. And these are two areas on the chart that are quite obvious. Traders brought price action to a close, that's the body of the candle, in line with this horizontal level of support, right? It also didn't wick much further, which is significant. So you have not yet had a rejection from this area. So you cannot yet define it as having, successfully passed any test that's set before it, which is, can you bounce price action back up again? Right? It has not done that yet, but it has reached it. So people will be looking at that. And it did not bounce away. That's an important point. Secondly, it's there, a gap itself, and there's two parts to it. It has not then closed, which is essentially three things. And so it provides an opportunity for a fourth, right? So if price action tomorrow does open, right, and pre-market prices, say, extended hours, what are we at? 91.38. So let's just turn it on now. In the gap, not yet, right? It's actually really around those levels, touching into it a little bit, right? So the further you go into that, there's no liquidity relative to other areas on the chart. Where is this 30-minute gap now? I'm imagining things now. Where was your gap? Well, because I've got on regular or extended hours, so there is no gap previously, of course, because gaps are formed when prices are closed. Right, cool. Tradespotting, brain engaged. Right, so you're looking here, and this was a gap. So when price action is open, back and forth, you would look at this area and say, well, there's probably less trades sat on the order book at these levels than there is above and below it, right? Because if we assume that the people that are the main flow of money within this, it's like responds dynamically based on the behavior of price, right? Then you would look and think there would be likely more orders where price action has traded previously than to where there was no liquidity. And so that would likely persist. So where do you get the liquidity then, right? If you were trying to drive liquidity, if you thought, moving the stock market in any direction would benefit you as one of the role you perform in that stock market, where would you most benefit? Like, you would most benefit during the opening range and potentially in pre-market, and that's just where you create gaps. And so people will be managing their trades around these areas. A lot of people when price action went up would have a stop loss here at 390, because that would be managing your risk based on an important distinction point in the market, right? So if when markets were open, price action would come back, closed that gap and not bounced at the closing of the gap, you would think, well, that's quite negative because it had the opportunity to do so. There was a test here, and it's subsequently failed too. If it then continued beyond it, that would be three tests, confirming that price action was headed to down. Whereas if at any one of those opportunities it decided not to do it, i.e. it bounced at the first one, it's not done that yet, it bounced at the second one, that would involve it not opening tomorrow below the previous gap. Then it would have achieved another one rather than the first. It would have obviously not been able to in order to achieve a second, or that would involve a retracement itself we would consider. But let's assume it didn't. So one, it fails. Two, it fails. And then the third one, moving down from here, right? Again, a lot of people would just say nothing's happened, but actually loads of things happened. And it would be that outcome would create the most liquidity, because everybody who had a stop here or here, right, they'd be trapped underwater. So they'd have to manage a trade like it's gone beyond your stop, or you are stopped out, right? Thank goodness, perhaps. But that's not the way most people's trades are set up. Then that'll create a liquidity event, which either means more market will be entering that market, those trades to manage those positions, or they'll be closing, which themselves will generate the biggest moves because more people will be caught in those trades because it captures more of price action, right? And it'll start to be an continuation of a trend. And also that's all happening below these important moving averages, which when you're on that time frame, you know, I mean, the gap is obviously persists across all of them. But if you're looking at this 30-minute time frame, you're looking left, you can't really describe this as much of an uptrend. You know, sure, this little inflection point, since the formation here hasn't changed since the distinctions in the range here. That's even on the 30 minutes. So it's very difficult to describe this as a strong uptrend. And so you would be saying that would be continuation. There's 200 period moving average on the 30 down at the next support level at 388. So that's what you're looking at. But if you're looking at this event and where does the liquidity come from, the most liquidity you could generate would be pushing price action down, it opening below that gap, and then subsequent dynamics how people would have to respond. That would generate more liquidity than it bouncing here, right? Because that would be the money then, right? That would be the you know, that would be bouncing here, a little bit of volume. That volume, right? Remember why I'm so disdainful of volume traders, because every buy is a sell and every sell is a buy, and it means nothing other than a measure of activity. And of course you would see higher activity, like I just said, at that area for those reasons, again here, right? And if that activity continues as price action continues, then you would suggest that is a representative of the validity of that trend. And again, there's another test it's failing, which provides you with another confirmation. And if you outline these areas as qualifiers before you enter trades or understand, then it will inform your decisions. The narrative, like, who cares, right? Like, but like, that's why there's more liquidity at this zone and at this area. And if you go through them, when markets are closed, then most traders won't be able to manage those trades at those positions, will have to do so afterwards, which will generate more of liquidity. And that would be represented then during the opening range, which is when, after the auction style of pre-market and into those first moments when professionals are most engaged in the market, is when that sort of a move would generate the most income and have the biggest impact for anyone who was tasked with that job, of which there are a number of people in the stock market who that's their job. So, and it's not nefarious, evil, or good or bad. It's to do with the efficient operation of market. Of course, the tools they've set up suit them and aren't fair for a lot of people, but then you have other tools on your side that they don't have. So, you know, and right, so you're looking at, and we're not victim of anybody, right? We're the 100 millionaires. Like, people are going to look back on these videos, you know, and I can gap over the gap too, of course, yeah. So gap, right, and then extra, right, and then imagine where does the next liquidity event come in at, right? And then why then you will be able to understand if you're following along, which most people will be, imagine, I don't know, then you can imagine why that resistance and or support level, depending on price's location with respect to it, that will have a greater significance. And the significance, it's not just a word that we say because it makes the sentence sound good, right? Because this isn't, you know, your average Twitter account. That means something. This is significance, right? It's based on facts, and those facts, you can point to them. There, look, pointing with a big floppy dildo, look there, pointing. And so another one, right? Could you know, so you know, like where price action created this gap, look, came back to it, down, retracing back from it here, opened up, created this gap we're in at the minute. Part of this was like part of, you know, you tested that zone top, you know, created this, look, test, breakdown, go straight here, right? That's just the gaps. These gaps could inform a lot of, right? And that's all I'm talking about there is the elements of risk that those gaps immediately present on the chart. Though I describe it in a way that sounds like a story, it isn't, right? The risk. So 4-hour time frame, we were aiming for this, right? So what am I talking about here? Oh, the liquidity. So, you know, just liquidity events. This is your Hope that's helpful. Hit the like button. Right, okay, Minner, that was that question. Thanks so much for the facts. $9.99. Thank you very much. It's appreciated. It's only with these sorts of support that we, can keep the show going, because it has to be able to fund itself. For too many days in the last 100, I've had to pay for this show to keep going, which obviously is not ideal for me. But the long-term investment in you guys is an investment in me and this channel. But that doesn't necessarily work that way, as I've learned, because I have demonstrated a long-term success repeatedly now for 2 years, and it hasn't borne fruit for the channel while it has helped people. So the truth is, it isn't going to. This isn't some exercise where at some point in the future the fields bloom, the flowers all spring up everywhere, and the world changes into one big happy place because of some watershed moment. It's only going to reach that point because we're all supporting each other. Just like the way there's loads and loads of value delivered all the time, right? It's helped by those people who support the show and create it to be possible. Like, there's the good things they do to help me produce it. Like, you don't have to put money into that jar. Where is it? Is it on? Yeah, it is. Why does nothing work on this damn jar anymore? Yeah, but if you do that, it's very important. Thank you, Case. Cheers, 75 plins. Thanks. We'll just look at a little cat. Big.
Fax arrival from Kitty's Nevady 17.99.
Never a whisker out of place. Thanks very much, Kitties. So that was an Australian accent there. Thanks, Kitties. Appreciate it loads. Can we look at DBA, kind sir? Brew, yes, you betcha. No, that's DNA. Hey. Pull. Wait, okay, so we're starting on weekly. Get up there. So, the last time this was a while ago, I last looked at this, it would have been in discussions with yourself, Brew, or else watching Rocky's show. Number of places to look to on this guy. Boop. Mm-hmm. Right, so, that was debatable anyway, so we'll go with this. And then, I suppose you could also then... Yeah. Right, so you could draw all that in, but it's kind of obvious what's going on there. Real, and we'll draw it in anyway. Then you've got a little bit of confluence. Alrighty, right, so I'm liking this a bit better now. Not quite happy with that sort of framework there. Right, so price actions lost to 50 simple on the weekly, and it at the same time lost to 236. You also got a rejection from the center line on the RSI and put in the third touch on the downward sloping horizontal, and you've got a potential cross on the MACD above the 200 period moving average, but you're most recently put in a divergent high. 1, 2. This one's divergent, and you were looking to come back and test support. At this point, you failed, so that signal's coming at the wrong time. Volatility building up, that's good to see, but then you would anticipate that having happened in advance of a trend change. You got a little bit of that there. Let's see if this overall does change. Weekly time frame, still lower highs looking left. That's an important horizontal. Keep that guy on there. You break that, it would be very significant. Back above 50. Why did that not? Why? Oh, did I move him or something? That's anyway. Right, so 50% retracement so far. Dow theory suggests it's not yet bullish. Also, horizontal levels have not yet broken, and it's quite clear you were in a downward sloping trend prior to that event. Self distinction at that diagonal. You could easily test back down in the breakout here with a retest of the 200 period moving average and the 236 at 17. That would be not out of the question. Then dropping down to the daily time frame, 200 period moving average, a rejection at that. 50 simple coming through with a def cross. Price action leaving a little bit of a gap on the daily at a previous level of support. I could see that being an inflection point in the face of volatility. If you did then recover here, get back into the bullish control zone and go through the 200 period moving average, it wouldn't be too exciting until you're broken 21.30, and I don't even anticipate that happening right now, but closing that gap potentially. Daily time framed RSI so far losing that previous trend, going through the center line and doing that same thing at the same time confirms that weekly bearishness. There's a cross on the MACD that, while you lost the 200 period moving average, gives you a valid sell signal, and you're getting massive volatility incoming on this thing based on historical volatility percentile way below its own moving average, made it below 10. When this makes it back above its own moving average, if price action drops at that point, it'd be big moves back down again. If it breaks at that point to topside at 22.87, big moves up that way. Though it looks to me as though it may be coming back a little bit. Let's see. This is a strong move. Testing that's not all that out of the question. They're at the top side of this trend on the breakout rather than those inflection points within it. So this is the first test and explains why there'd be a little bit of stickiness at around 1929 and the lows of today, 1950, which is where it closed. Right, so we'll see how it performs over the short term. That's the long term view. 4 hour, still a rejection across the board there. Moving averages. Volatility also picking up, losing the volatility of this as we drop down the time frames. We've got a cross, you're below the 200, the 50 simple itself below the 200, and price action failing here to hold the previous trend, also rejection at the center line. This is a lot of negative confirmations. 1 hour time frame. Previous continuation divergence, then price action putting in a rejection of the bullish control zone where you're below the 200 period moving average, which is, you know, further coloration of that proxy for the trend. And then down to the 30 minutes where we get a little bit of potential trend line there. Could easily catch that area or break, put in bullish divergence and come back up. If it breaks below 1922, I'd be cautious, very cautious. And it's coming towards those levels at the minute. So 30-minute time frame suggests, you know, that volatility. More of these, less of these. Back to the daily and see what does that all come together as. All comes together as not impressing me much yet, right? I mean, this thing didn't break its range. And if we're going to have a massive breakout, I'd like to see it. I'd only really be interested in it back above those, you know, high 22, 23 levels. Or it breaking back down. And that's closer to happening, right? It's obviously, you know, lots of levels in between the extreme sides of price action here, but it does seem to me that it's a little bit risky at the minute here, and potentially that's what you're looking at and thinking, oh, I can manage that entry at 1923. I don't want it below 1844, and I anticipate it testing this high again. Maybe, right? That would be a bullish perspective on it at the minute. To me, it looks like it wants to roll over, and it may well be that you use and break down here as your entry with a stop very much at the same area or quite tight to it, and first target being that previous area for a potential stop, and you get a smaller overall trade, but the risk reward's fine. It's how you interface with those variables. You can get huge amounts of profit. Then maybe you're looking at that evolving into something that comes back down and test these areas. Like, you know, I wouldn't rule that out and put on a secret cheat sheet. This is a very important area, right where you are at the minute. Very important area, a big inflection point there. You know, 200 period moving average on the 5-day would be interesting. Lots of crosses going on right where price action is on important time frames. Smaller term time frames already having those crosses evolved, and it was a negative outcome. And yeah, so that's what I'd be thinking, yo. The things that I said. Financial advice. My good, that 9921 down is hardcore. What are we talking about? Hey Colin S, how you doing, friend? Hey Tradespotting, just looking over some new tickers, and found news pretty wild looking with some spikes lately. Significant changes in volume. A little weird looking. Wild looking, eh? A wild one. Get to that in a second. What did I miss there? Anything else? They'll put my anniversaries. Thanks, folks. I thought to short it back to 17 if it breaks down at this support, and maybe even taking this trade 1370 because I think there's a flash there. Yes, so I mean potentially goes down that direction. You're thinking around 1370. That would be breaking this downward sloping. Come on, guys. Come on, guy. 4 hour, get me on here. You're thinking back below this level, breaking back into this prior trend and testing in around these levels, sir. That is very, very likely. If it does break this downward sloping diagonal and that important horizontal level, it comes in at around 1680 at the minute, then yes, $13 is the next area to aim for. And there's a cheat sheet. Oh, there it is. There it is. This spotted it. We spotted one again. Oh my goodness. The flash, get it. www.patreon.com/Outcrop. Right. This is also the thing. People say like, oh, but it's expensive. It's like, well, we're trying to do something that's very lucrative. The cost of doing business is obviously represents that, right? It's not doesn't cost the same amount as a spade, right? And even then, some spades are way more expensive than that indicator, right? You know, you have to be realistic, you know. And I don't mean to be mean in that sense. I do attempt to help everybody. Don't everyone get it until I'm a millionaire. Yeah, well, I mean, everyone gets it, right? Then, yeah, you don't ever, like, I mean, it's Rocky's indicator. It's Rocky's indicator. Is the market about to dump and pull us down that low? What low? About Tycon. How's it going? You don't watch every show, do you, Tycon? Or you'd have a good understanding of how I see price action evolving. For sure you would. If you're talking about that watching previously, maybe you're watching along behind the time. You know, you might have watched from the start when you jumped in, which a lot of people do, and you're looking and you're currently, he's watching back and seeing this and seeing, is it about to break down and is the targets this low and so on. And it's like, well, yeah, right. I mean, they're not all that. That's not crazy at all. I mean, these targets here, this is less of a range than we saw previously, right? The volatility that this potential move represents would be lesser to that which we've most recently experienced on the two most recent oscillations. That is to say, the dispersal of prices over this range would be more limited than the previous two we've just... So, I mean, the way you're talking about... I haven't watched in months, mate. Glad to see you're still at it. Great to see you back, buddy. So, like, it's a relative question, you know, is it about to dump that bad? Well, I mean... Yeah, but that bad. I mean, like, I don't know. You know, maybe you're talking about like the way that the news talks about things, because yeah, everything's apocalyptic on the news. You know what it's like. They want people to watch. They're like me, but they're like, they play into your short-term satisfaction, and that's the whole game, to do it as good as possible, and that's what the arena they're competing in. And then it affects your concentration span, which is good for them. Whereas here it takes a little bit more. You know, I'm not criticizing you, of course. Like our perspective on things is born from a desire to see across time. We you know, which is anathema to to be thinking, oh, it's all going to die every 5 minutes. You know, that's why we're the doomslayers. Like that's, and you know this from having watched from months ago, because you are the doomslayers who don't believe in that doom narrative. It's stupid, right? It's stupid, and we slay that doom narrative, right? Because even when things are bad, they're good, right? Because what are you talking about in terms of bad, right? These are false constructs, and we are real people. Do the doomslayers. 10% is relative, eh? 10% significant though. The panic room is back. Yes. Splashes. Sheesh, those splashes. How much time you have to spend after splashes trying to make sure things okay in the world. Everyone freaks out after a splash. Not you guys. I'm talking about the rights holders. They freak out. Eh? It's like, I have to explain this again. No, I'm a good person. Yes, I know there are lots of bad people. I'm not about... Anyway, isn't that bias? What's bias? Bias. What's bias? Well, I mean, we don't have a bias with regards to price direction. What do you mean bias? Of course, we all suffer from bias. But what do you mean? What I just said, I don't think was. But maybe. I mean, music starts playing and JME enters the room. This is it. This is it. That would mean that I am not the source of the music, though, perhaps. Are you playing the downside right now? Well, I mean, you need to go back to the start. You need to watch the Millionaire Maker series, mate. It's really good use of your time. This is only episode 11, and we're short on a whole bunch of things that are going to make a sheetload of money. Loads and loads of things that are going to make a sheetload of money. You wouldn't just short SPY, or you would, I don't know, but there's far greater percentage moves to be made from analysing the trades you're taking and exploiting risk within individual sectors. Those risks are easier to analyse and understand too when you break it down, which we've done. Watch those 10 episodes and then watch this one as well again. And anyone else who's watching along, having just caught this one, watch back. You know, a lot of the trades are still on. All of the levels within them were mentioned at the time. And, right, it's like the lessons in there will help you anyway. Way more, like, so, like, I advise people watch them. Yesterday's show got 500 views, you know, and only for Amanda and the pep talk she gave me after it, I wouldn't be here today, right? It wouldn't be here. People don't realise the critical nature of things, but I wouldn't be, right? And so, thank everybody. It's a group effort. Are we short on some things though? Was the question. Yeah. So, yes, you did, yes. It's the best use of everybody's time if you check those videos out rather than me explain it though, because obviously I've got other people watching at the minute too. Can I attest I've watched them twice? Yes. Thanks. What are you, the police? Price. 4 times the videos. Wanting to see some positivity. Yo, squeeze, sir. Isn't that biased? Wanting to see some positivity. What did I want to see positivity in, though? I mean, I don't think so. No. Positivity, slay the doom, we make money even in a downward market. That's not bias. Nah, it isn't. Ain't it? Heckling race holders, man. Please need JME, our fearless leader. Thanks. Yes, it's great to be appreciated, you know. Great to be appreciated. Everyone deserves a bulldog in their corner. Glad she's in ours and GME's. Yeah, freaking right. Lucky. She's amazing. Nope. As you said, MSN wants you right there thinking all will keep falling. The MSN, the media narrative is to create drama, and so when it's bad, they'll exaggerate the downside. When it's good, they'll exaggerate the positive. I was saying that is a natural consequence of that industry, but isn't necessarily how we should show the market. I understand the question. It's just that I was talking about how those entities and our response to it should be, you know, aware of that, taking all the data, right? But then, and so no, the answer to your question is no, it wasn't suffering from bias. Wouldn't be a fair critique of what I said. But I totally appreciate the question. And well, it sounds like a blunt and harsh response. That it has to be, because I also want to go on and say that everybody does suffer from bias all the time, and you have to be conscious of it. That's why it's so ignorant to try and ignore your emotions. You're walking into a trap you've made for yourself there. So I would point that out alongside a really blunt response and say, no, your critique of me there was completely wrong. But it's also true to say that the words you use do represent true dangers to traders everywhere, and none of us are immune from it. I hope that's not an unfriendly response. Think for yourself. Question the media. Yeah, I mean, like, don't believe that nonsense. They don't understand. You know, this is the other thing. The media, i.e. the news in this instance, but obviously all their other media is even suffers greater from this problem, is they're trying to explain events in retrospect, which means they attach significance to those events that they understand push the narrative that gets the most eyeballs, because that sells the most advertising, as opposed to simple truths and obvious dynamics which will repeat, become obvious and be boring. They'd much rather it was this new apocalyptic event that you needed to watch now. So that kind of like jars with a wise approach to trading, where you know that the world's never done ending. Never search for human tongue on Amazon. So, I mean, I respond in these ways, and I hope they don't upset people. I know they do, and I don't mean to alienate anyone, because especially, like, the typical question will come from someone who hasn't tuned in a while or is new to me, Tradespotting or the group, and they think, Oh, it is unfriendly. And I don't mean it to be that way. So people are asking about AMC in the chat box. 565. Here I've got on the 4-hour time frame where I'd say you get a lot of joy looking at trend there. 4-hour time frame, back above 50 simple, held it, tested to 200, a little bit of rejection there, back to our support level in at around 556, 565, low today, 546, that 550 level. If you don't hold there, 50 simple retest in at around 480, very likely. Things at an inflection point right now, previous 50%. This guy. So we made it back above the prior lows, which is something GME also managed to do, and similar inflection points with regards to those technical artifacts. Tradespotting, Rock, Outcrop, Competitions, and Doomslayers. So glad to be part of this. Adele, great to see you. No offense taken here. Thanks, Squeezy. Great to hear. I know, imagine, you know, typically, right, and I'm a similar, I don't know, imagine it now, right, projection onto you, but, you know, I would appreciate if someone was explaining things to me like this way, and I would part of my initial conversation and communication style will be to elicit that same succinct response and direct questions. So I appreciate it, and like I'm doubly so when you say that. So thanks very much. BBY thoughts. I am short around 420. That's good. You'll be minted then. It's nothing like 420 and probably never be anything anywhere like that again. So you sorted, Bummel. But yeah, I'll check in with what you suggest. You're saying 420. Right, so that's not good. It went to like the 580 target. Yo, we'll get into that in a second. 200, if you like, 200 period moving average. What we're talking about here? AMC. Right, sorry me. 4-hour time frame. We're in the bullish control zone, not arguing with that. Our retracement on this move is persistent above the 50% target so far. And then some. Give me you. Right, here's the 382. You've not even made it there. Below the 236. 382 would come back to this 50% retracement. That is what we would then anticipate happening. Yeah, probably around 525 is possible in that prior high. That could happen. 525 then. Right after that, you can start judging the significance of a bounce or not at that area. Clearly, it would be a lower high at this point. It wouldn't be in line with overall macro formation. If you were to get back up and test those levels about $8, you would close important gaps. But 4-hour volatility, having picked up, has lost its low moving average. Spiked a little bit. It's lost it twice. I'd say that's significant. No interest in that. Get off my screen. In the bullish control zone, or are you? Nope. We can argue with it. Look, 1 hour, you won't behave, right? So you've fallen out of the bullish control zone, you silly thing. Argue. Right, the 50 simple's gone through the 200 at 495. Test of that wouldn't be out of the question. At that point, you would then have all the questions. You haven't come to the top side of this particular resistance zone. You'd be anticipating the test of the gap, which is back down at 420. So, you know, if this is to be rolling over, which, having lost the bullish control zone, we could make that argument, then the retracement having exceeded the 236 at 5.68, you could make the argument that this retracement, which is now valid, will persist to test this cross, that would beg the question of this gap, and that reaching 420 would be a breakdown that starts with rolling over here. And the question is, are we going to put in an inflection point with a higher low, or go on and test that ultimate low? Depending, that would be if the market breaks down. You would anticipate that happening. 30-minute time frame, you've got divergence on the most recent high. You've got potential continuation, hidden bullish divergence on the lows. So this is a very important inflection point. You lose 561. That explains why it would go straight to the next levels that we'd outlined without needing to stop in between for too long. I would put a lot of emphasis on the test that this is currently making on the 30 minutes on the center line. If it opens tomorrow with a gap, the opening range will be very interesting. It's important inflection points, and there's an awful lot of downward pressure on AMC. Like, if you trade AMC, if you're interested in AMC, if you've watched my content because of my honest take on the charts on AMC, then you'll understand and appreciate the point I'm about to make. You'll be very rare among your peers, because most people will hate what I'm going to say now. there is far more volume trading AMC coming over the next 6 weeks to the short side than there may ever have been before, because there's a dynamic in place that provides with a perfect hedged arbitration trade. It's a straight up sum where you can see free money available by shorting by shorting AMC, and for every unit of AMC you short, you long one share of APE. Those two tickers will merge. It will become one price, and the difference between the current price of AMC and the current price of APE will be entirely yours, entirely risk-free. That's huge amounts of essentially a very low risk opportunity, and a way that, you know, anybody who is a money manager, or a lot of people who are sitting on money, or traders who don't care, will know that it's a fact that they can guarantee they lose nothing and they make that money. A couple of days ago, it was $3.50 per pop, and it was going crazy, the amount of people who are doing it. The only cost is the cost to borrow on those short AMC shares. So this is where you trick the people who are trying to be smart in that sense. Then that's not critiquing them in any bad way. Is on the cost to borrow. But again, there's ways of ameliorating that if you're on that side of the trade, especially if you're an institution, which go into some other point, but it's going to not make people happy either. So this is what it is, right? There's an arbitrage opportunity. There's huge amounts of volume going. It could be going in that direction over the next 6 weeks. The only liability is the cost to borrow, and that itself is manageable to big players. That isn't necessarily to little likes of you and me with our tools. So, you know, be aware of that, right? It's going to have a severe effect on every price rise that AMC makes. Likewise, it will eventually lead to lots of trades closing. Those trades will be closed without, those trades closing as and when they do will have a massive impact on the proposed 10-to-1 split that Adam Aaron's talking about as well. So massive points to consider. There are huge amounts of money to be made, but it involves taking a short position on AMC. There are ways to fight against that dynamic, or not that dynamic. It means you'll drown, you'll lose. It's not a fight you can win. There's no point. You will willingly sacrifice yourself if you even try. It's completely the worst possible strategy I would ever possibly envisage. But you could try and fight that with those people. I'm not saying you take advantage of that opportunity. It's up to you whether you find it ethical or not, and I'm only pointing out because it's a fact. And the reason I'm pointing out that fact is because it's going to have a massive effect on price action. Massive effect on pricing. It's going to affect all things, and if it happens in a downturn, if SPY does collapse, especially if consumer discretionary doesn't hold up, then it's going to be a bloodbath and horrific across a number of different places, and I wouldn't expect these stocks to escape just because we want them to. Right, so that's like a little bit of a take on AMC. That wouldn't have made people happy. I'm very sorry, right? But it's not my fault. GME. Again, this lost centerline in the 30-minute time frame. That's not positive. You also lost a 50 simple, potentially trying to climber back above it. Closed $20, spot 79, down 4.63%. Could have been a lot worse. You've held this previous low. That's also important. It being at that D point means support level at 20, spot 16. If you break that, you would then anticipate a test of the top side of this zone in at around 1950, and the previous level of support. If that doesn't hold, you'll come back towards 1850. 200 period moving average on 30-minute time frame would represent a higher low. You've made the measured move from your inverted head and shoulders test of support, and the basis line of this overall downward sloping channel now would make sense. So anticipating 18 isn't out of the question. If this breaks, there's important golden pocket retracement that typically in price action, if it did exceed these levels, especially if it managed to break below a 50% retracement in around 1846, if it drops below this important level at 1850, the support level we've marked out here with this zone, was previously resistance and a target, but now, you know, let's hope that it works in our favor. If it doesn't, 1850, you lose it. You lose the 50% retracement. You lose the 200 period moving average. You lose the basis line of the channel, and you lose your previous level of support. You'd be coming back down to the golden pocket. That's the top side of this important area on the charts. You'd probably then ask the question again, are we going back down to $16? If you do, having been at 15 and change, having pushed up, put in a lower high at 22 and come back down to 16, the question is not is 10 possible, but will 10 hold? That's what most people would be asking. And if there is negative moves across the market, most people would think 10's a certainty. That's an emotional point. At that point, they'd be considering it that way. The truth, like at this point, we're just looking at 1850 and thinking that looks likely if you break 1950. But overall, in context, it's very easy to remind people of this downward sloping support line and the idea of price action returning to previous trends. And if it did, you know, when you're looking at this breaking down, putting in some sort of a return to previous formations, you'd be looking at this, the theory of what Rocky and I put forth as displacement, which essentially, you know, you break into the downward sloping channel here, you're also losing the 86 and the previous level of support. You'd be looking straight to your prior low at $15.45, right? That previous inflection point, nothing in between would be important. And if you did get there, it's the theory, right? You would expect continuation again. 1.13 extension matches up perfectly with a linear lower low. Right, and all of these things become huge, screaming, obvious, massive, mega horn in your ear noises to emotional traders at these levels, which means that interest drops off, volatility would likely increase, risk would increase, and therefore opportunities also increase. So managing your risk across various trades, if it's not the sticker, it might be another. You like these opportunities, you're aware of them because of their danger, and you manage the risk rather than let it be delivered to you by, you know, the standard deviation of the asset you're trading, right? No, thank you. You will determine the risk. That standard deviation is the manifestation of your profit. Okay? Yes, you're a trader now, and you're going to be a good one. And I'm going to prove to the rest of the world that you're the best, right? And when they watch back on these shows, they're going to say, of course it was. TA from Heavens, there you have it. In your pocket. And I just said I had enough GME shares. Average down if it goes to 10 though. Yes, I've got more than enough myself. Yes, that would be representing an average down. So we did GME, we did AMC, we did a good show, I think. Kitties Never Die, thank you so much for the super chat. Minner 99, thank you so much. Bruley 1999, thank you so much, people. Keeping this show going, giving my ear. Thanks. Is there such a thing as enough scammer? I don't know, right? I heard Ryan Cohen bought all the stonks. Can we do any again? We can. We can for you, kitties. But I do average down when we were at support. Sensible. Incredible show. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Nick. Can't get enough of them gyms. I don't think there is a limit on how many you can buy. Right? No, I don't think there is. Cheers, Tradespotting. Cheers, KT. Great show, wasn't it? Just love the stock. Any. Right. Ooh. On, off. There you go. It's like a heart attack trade there. So, price action very much in these levels of extreme opportunity / risk. Be careful to manage it. 20% down to get there. It's a big move in itself, right? You know, big move in itself. Anyway, we managed to get down here. You're looking at this, holding this potential linear support. Really what you're actually looking at is like horizontal level of, these are important in around 0.37. Post-market prices in around those levels, closing in around those levels. This is why it represents the potential opportunity, right? This is the starting point of opportunity. You don't potentially, you know, you definitely would be weary. Like, if everyone's got their own risk profile, and people I know have entered at different places. So, I mean, giving individual advice not necessarily going to work. I mean, there's different areas too that you would measure departure zones from here. Some people will be looking at it from in and around these zones. Make it slightly more accurate, please. But Right? 382 also comes in at around this zone. So it's very important here. And the golden pocket slightly below 200 period moving average in 30 minutes. 30 minute, why does it start in a 30 minute? Hourly, right? 50 simple went through the 200 price action, came back and test that. You would anticipate that happening when you came up, met support, resistance, pardon me, on the 4 hour time frame. You can see it's a very important horizontal level here. Bottom side of a gap. One test of that area before creating a prior low, a retracement from that zone with an inverted head and shoulders, and in a measured move, managing to take you back to exactly that horizontal support, and subsequently you've come up and hit it on a fourth occasion, which you wouldn't anticipate it breaking it on the first pass, considering it came from its most extreme departure to make it there. So bounce back down, first place you'd be looking to be the prior high from within the formation it escaped from. That inflection point on price action proved to be true previously on the way up, and then you also find a 382 because of the nature of this high. So this is the first test. These other areas represent other important distinctions with regards to risk at 0.34. Again, golden pocket, 0.31, 0.3056. 86 retracements down at 0.2513. All of these things are very possible. You want to protect your capital as best as possible. There is a cost to trading these things, especially these sort of trades, right? Especially them. So I would advise you to take that under consideration, depending on the particular asset or instrument, pardon me, that you'll be using to trade these things. How to put that, right? So, you know, a lot of people find the concept of managing their risk using stop losses when they're trading option contracts to be very difficult, or at least, I mean, not difficult because it's exactly as hard, but like it's like, yo, Lakeside Trader, thank you so much. Gain, sir. Legend. Just sitting there.
Facts arrival from Lakeside Trader 19.99.
19.99. Thank you very much, Lakeside Trader. I was in Australia once, and you know what happened, don't you? Tragedy. A dingo ate my baby. 1999. Thanks. Appreciate it. Cheers. What was this saying? Aye, so I mean, it's difficult, right?
JS
You can just
became a
conditional
member.
orders, yo. 16 months. Yo, JS, how's it going? Great to see you. Something in the post for you. Eventually, eh? Right, so the 57, what was I saying? Capital protection, it is slightly more nuanced when you're trading options, isn't it? Say it with me. Capital protection is slightly more nuanced when you're trading options. So, so you can consider how you might want to enter risky trades, depending on, you know, scaling in, depending on how much you plan to take at any particular instance. Like I myself, accidentally. So, you know, you're looking at scaling into things potentially. That's one version of reducing your risk. Obviously, you want to use stop losses. Some people find it easier to use on spot. Otherwise, you can buy spot to start off with, and like that's how most option contracts were used by professionals are as insurance over other positions. So it may well be that you're going for some version of that, and you also want to be managing your risk. If volatility picks up, underlying value of your option contracts increases too. So there is little times that suit various instruments and times that you're better sticking to others. It's all very, you know, so, I mean, just ask me specifics. There's so many big, if I spin this motherfucker, yeah, Tradespotting, shut up already. What was the question? Who asked me something? Nick Hayes. Yeah, so I mean that's what you're talking about, right? Those levels there. I imagine that's what you're thinking, right? Yeah. If you're on spot, it's slightly easier to manage the position. Start managing your risk before entering a trade by not getting a totally crap seed entry. You're telling me smart. Yeah. By not getting a totally crap entry, which you can do by first off considering what would represent a good entry. And that's a really good question to ask yourself, you know, what does it mean to have a good entry? And it's not like a simple question of, well, then buy when low, sell when high. We're talking about risk. You want to buy when that risk is really high, manage your own risk when that event, and sell when the risk is really low to somebody who'll pay more because they're not paying for any risk. They just buy for this brilliant, yeah, sweet, I don't want to pay the risk, right? I want this thing when it's less risky, so they'll give you more money for it, and that's your job as a trader to exploit that risk. And I'm scared. Hi, Squeezy, yeah. I have GME 17, 25 strikes. February the 17th, $25 strikes. Couple of weeks, $25. GME, and 17th of February. Here it is. This is your open interest. Current picture on open interest says that there's an awful lot of weight in at around $18.50, and that target we spoke about on price action when we were looking at the GME chart. Just go back there now. This zone, the bottom side of this gap, testing that on, what was it, the 30-minute 50% retracement and $18.50 test. I mean, we looked at the TA and suggested this was very, very likely this zone. Very relevant for yourself too. If we do break to the top side, you know, holding that $20 level would be very positive. Also holding this 50 simple and 30-minute and more so, and putting in another high towards this previous zone. I don't know at what point you got your contracts, and as such, you know, also I can't say for when, if that did even evolve to the top side without lower lows, that would happen and how that would affect that particular expiry. Obviously, I am not a walking, talking option calculator, especially when I don't know the various inputs you've got. So, yeah, I mean, what I would say is, if it gets anywhere near there in advance of your expiry, I wouldn't be holding on for, you know, those contracts represent a lot of risk there. The time decay on those things, a little bit dodgy there, sir. But I would understand, no reason to be afraid though. Black shows. You see black shows, right? Yeah. It is. Tradespotting fan club, bing bong. Too bad I don't know how to use it. Yeah. Well, you will too. No worries. I'll help. I think it will later. There'll be a course on that as and when it's appropriate. It's like we could dive into it, but people would just get confused. Like, there's no point. We'll do that another time. Maybe we'll do a video on it. But we'll do a course on it for sure. I think I will rebuy Leia, one that helps people. Yes. Exactly, yes. Bing bong. I must go for dinners. Congratulations. Guitarist, thank you very much. An excellent chat today with Big Buckets and calling on the Discord. Trading floor. Formal invitation for all to join me there tomorrow around market open. Alrighty, guitar outside. Nice one. Thank you very much. $10 too.
Outside 10.
That's a big opportunity. Take it. The more people that do, the better it'll be for everybody. You know, very respectful, helpful area. Everyone gets time to talk to each other. Get on the Discord, www.discord.gg/rockoutcrop, and see, www.discord.gg/rockoutcrop. And if you go via Patreon, then you get all the extra bonuses. Whatever you do, join market open. Guitar outside, check it out. Thanks very much for that this morning. It's great. It's great, Dev. It's great. Right. All day, 24/7, there's usually somebody around to give you some sort of advice on one of the threads. And certain times, very busy. So, you know, a lot of value there. And what did we talk about this? 1850 in your particular contracts. Yeah, no, I don't want to give financial advice. None of this is financial advice. And try to milk millionaires, not give financial advice. Right. You've seen those people that give financial advice. They also sell you a mortgage. Typically, they would drive like an estate. I like estate cars. But, you know, they're not trying to make 100 millionaires, right? That's not what they're trying to do. So I'm not out here trying to do that either. So don't consider this financial advice. Love that no one is mean when I ask really dumb questions. As if you do, you're a total legend. Like, Prez is out here like... she's legend, right? Best Discord anywhere. It makes me feel very comfortable. At the same time, you'd be surprised how the modesty there when you put it beside the percentage returns which you see constantly. I've been here lurking for a while, and I just started to stream over to catch what I missed and want to say hi, everyone. Ghost of Corey Bing Bong. Good to see you, Corey. Cheers. Good to see you, buddy. There's the beverage. Oh no, my banana's on there. No, where? It's here. I brought it here for this very moment. I thought of you today and thought of this very moment. Yeah. There it is. Do you have a banana freeze? Legend. The legend. Right. So, how you can't even see that balance in there. Look how great it balanced. Look how I can balance this banana. Look at that. Right, so it's a brilliant show, everybody. We had a great time, you know. Wow, okay. Yeah, Maker. Right, so it was a brilliant time, right? Yeah, wow, you were all happy. That was good to see. Everybody in chat box enjoying themselves. Don't think I missed anything. Join Guitar Outside tomorrow at Market Open on the Discord. Be there or be square. Thanks for supporting the stream. Lakeside Trader, Guitar Outside, Getty's Never Die, Minner, Bruley. Thanks so much for supporting the stream. Did I look at DBA properly? I've got no drawings. How did this happen? One drawing. Brew, did I do any of this? Oh, there's lots of drawings. No, look, there's loads of drawings. I did this. Forever and ever. Wait, 100 likes. Already, 100 likes. Hey, that's not a coincidence. That's not coincidence. Yeah, so, thanks. Yep, thanks. Remember and never forget. See you tomorrow. Hit the like button and the share button. You know, you can share this with people. You know, there's people that would say, like, how that's silly. You can share the intro bit. You can make clips. I had a clip competition. I had to cancel it last night. Clip competition. It was for $250. And all you have to do is, like, make a clip. Not, like, click the button on Tradespotting videos that's, like, clip. That's not worth $250. Come on. Make a clip, though I do appreciate that. Thanks so much. Again, Guitar Outside did a good one of them recently. And you could do them too, share them on social media, and then all your friends will be like, that was interesting, engage with your profile more. So you should do that. But also, top tip, but also, what was it? Also, I was going to say something. I'm sure I was. What was that? Something really fascinating and amazing. Yeah, oh, the clip competition, that's right, $250 for a 60-second clip of Tradespotting, but I never got any entries, you know. It's like, here's one from Jackie, right, he'd already made it, and I was like, beat this for 250 quid. So, like, it doesn't do me any favours to just give 250 quid to Jackie, who'd already made the clip anyway and wasn't doing it for that purpose. I was hoping it would inspire others. We'll maybe do that again sometime, huh? But set up a mechanism whereby you get consistently rewarded for making clips, perhaps with the affiliate link in the course, whereby instead of just making that, you can make it multiple times just for making a clip, including the link to the course. People will be interested in learning that. I mean, I haven't gone out of my way to create distribution channels or overly saturate the market with that course, where I could have done, right? Instead of spending all day, every day trying to level people up for free on the internet. I could have been doing that way version of, which likely would get a lot more sales now. So that opportunity is now available for everybody. You guys, right? You have the connections and talk to those people who would ultimately buy that course anyway, because it is demonstrably the best way to learn. It's certainly up there with them by any standard. And so, and then by that standard, it's also comparatively cheap. What am I trying to say here, for goodness sake? I had a point, I'm sure of it. Yeah, so you can make those clips if you want, as you put in a link to the affiliate link to the course. You could make people, imagine somebody was like, wow, it's a really good clip and it got thousands and thousands of views. You could make lots of money, right? Just out of luck. It would be luck. A lot of luck would come from that, but it probably happens, right? It's some people's whole marketing technique. So think about it. If you've already taken the course, there's an extra free opportunity for you, right? And also, clips are good, right? Also, Ebenezer's good. Never ever forget. Thank you very much for everything. Everybody does support the channel, whether it's hitting the like button, the share button, any of those other things I talked about is appreciated. And the best value opportunity of one of the things I offer is actually Rocky Outcrop at his Patreon, his indicator tier with access to the Discord. It's the best way to level yourself up. And the more people that do that, the better and better it gets. But it's already achieved critical levels of success. So great to see that. See you there tomorrow and here on the show. Thanks.